Okay, so yeah, thank you for the introduction. Today I'll be speaking on debugging team dynamics and how to build a good communication charter that would last. So towards the end, I will explain the difference between the canvas I will show and the communication charter. So just before we start, I would like to talk more about myself again. As Thierry pointed out that I'm an engineering manager, I'd like to also mention that before I was working as a software developer, I programmed and did a lot of development work in mobile for Android as well, and iOS. And before that, I did a bit of websites and then also did a bit of work on DevOps. So I have that background with me. And when I transitioned into engineering management, it was very different because now I'm more into the people management bit of it, strategically helping engineers to perform better in teams and less of coding. Yeah, despite that, I'm still Google developer for expert for Android. And yeah, why I also put a photo of a bicycle is when I'm not working, I like to cycle. So that's just a bit about me. And originally, I'm from Kenya, just I put my flag there, and I live in Germany. So today's agenda will focus on just 5 things. What is the core problem that faces teams? What are the conflict styles that exist that are well known? And then how do we get through the breakthrough of this? And what would be the ideal solution in navigating team dynamics? And in the end, my favorite part, which is the question and answer, I'm looking forward to your questions. So feel free to use the chat and we can discuss. So just a small icebreaker before we go to the next bit. I'd like to see from the chat on your, please feel free to type on the chat. What are some of the personality traits or some of the personality, how do I say? Yeah, just call them traits that you've seen in the workplace that make communication feel like it's challenging or it's like very difficult to navigate. I'd like to hear from you. If you can just type on the chat. Anyone? Okay. I was hoping this can be a bit more interactive. Are there any, okay, any personality traits you think would be worth mentioning? Okay, if you have no idea, then I can go ahead and show you examples. Yeah, it's a hard question. Okay, let me go ahead. Then we could see if they make more sense and relatable to you. So generally, why communication breaks down in the workplace is there's always an recognized difference between 2 people, for example, or a group of people, and then there's always a spoken style of communication that will lead to conflict. But the goal of it all is how do we transition from this kind of reactive interaction to being intentional with each other in the workplace. So I'll walk you through just some simple steps that worked for us in our team. And when I was talking about personality traits, I was hoping someone would mention some of this. So someone who's aggressive, someone who's passive, or someone who's both passive aggressive. And then there's also the assertive. So let's talk more about each section and try to break it down. So when you try and classify someone who's aggressive, some of their traits would look like they're dominating, they often interrupt, and they would always more often than not ignore others during maybe group settings or discussions. And for someone who's passive is someone who would be avoiding conflict, wanting to always stay silent during discussions or high-heated conversations. And more often than not, they would prioritize others before themselves. And then when you combine these two traits, passive-aggressive, so someone who's giving you mixed signals, who's undecisive or indirect when trying to communicate, and they'll always send confusing signals or communication. Then for the assertive, which is a bit more different from these two, is someone who's direct, very clear, is respectful, and advocates for themselves as well as others at the same time. So ideally for assertive, that's something that would be the end goal of any person in a team. But this doesn't mean the rest are, how do I say, the rest don't play a role. I'm going to show you later how all this come to play, but assertive, we can't all expect everyone in the team to be assertive. So assertive is something that you can work towards, but doesn't mean that if you're not assertive, then you're failing the team. So one example is of how to think about it within the team is try and analyze for yourself, like, are you analytical? Do you seek precision when you're trying to communicate? Are you a driver? Do you seek the results? Or are you expressive? Someone who brings out the creative buzz within the team. So if you're looking at where exactly do you fall and you find like you can't place yourself really, then it's really important to have this communication discussion, for example, with your manager or with your teammates, where they can give you feedback to see what is something that is portrayed from your personality trait within the team. So for our team, for example, what we did, we went through a communication training with one of the agile coaches in our company. And this way I was also, for me as a manager, I was also able to take part in this exercise. And it was really helpful because in the end, we came together and wrote a team canvas by the end of the session. It was a full day workshop. So a team canvas is a set of shared agreements that define how you want to show up in conversations, give feedback, and navigate conflict. Because in the end, we wanted to all have this one blueprint that we could always refer to as a team, and would guide us as we continue having discussions, or if need be, conflict arises, and how do we navigate that. Another bit that was shown to us during that whole communication workshop was this team canvas. So I mentioned at the beginning, one point of this talk is to enable you to write a good team charter that will help the team. So having this team canvas is what now would build to what you'll end up having in your team charter. And if you look closely, there are different categories, and we'll go through each of them together as I explain them. So in the team, there are people and their different roles. So we put all of this in one category, and everyone put in their sticky, everyone put in their name, and even maybe one favorite thing about them. Then when we go to the next section about the common goals, we talk broadly about what does a team do. And if you don't have a common goal as a team, then this is already going to be a problem, because you end up finding people have different expectations of what the team is supposed to deliver. And then from the common goals, we went to the personal goals, where everyone would talk about their career ambitions, or what are some of the things they are motivated to get out of from the team that they're in. And by having this overview, you get to know who can even like pair or buddy with someone else in the team if you have the same personal goals. And then in the middle, which is a bit blocked, is the purpose. So this one comes in once we talk about the values. From the values, we chose like simple keywords that would help us align on what are some of the common goals that we have. And then the needs and expectations, again, coming from the common goals that we discussed together as a team. And all this now help us come in with one purpose. So ideally, you should have one or two stickies for the purpose section, so that you're not confused about, you have one clarity or together as a team. Then the rules and activities section, this was really fun for us to do, because setting up rules for our team is fun when you're the one setting them up, because in this way, it's something that came from within the team and not an external person bringing in the rules. So for example, we said our stand-up should start on time and end on time. If someone joins 5 minutes late, we don't have to wait for them, something like that. And this was already a good rule that we could write in our team charter. Some of the activities we also picked for ourselves was having quarterly dinners together as a team, because there was this budget allowed for us in the company. And now everyone had a chance to look forward to this, and we could also suggest where to go for dinner or what other activity we could try during the dinner. Then for the strengths and assets section, this section was mostly for us to build towards highlighting the good things that are happening in the team, because sometimes we focus so much on communication is broken down in the team. We focus so much on things are not working. We don't feel like we're making progress. There's so much conflict or misalignment. But focusing on the strengths and assets of the team was really nice for us to know that we actually like working together. We have people good at what they do. So I think this was a really good time to focus on for us. And then the weaknesses and risks, we also listed them out, because it was the whole idea of even why we brought up the communication training for us to pinpoint these things. So yeah, having a look at all of it in one page was really nice for us. And at the end of it, we went for dinner together as a team. And I would say, from my perspective, and I even took feedback from the team 3 months later, that the communication training and team charter process really helped us get better together. So I thought it would be a nice thing to share today. I have the resource pages here for you to check out if you want. I also wrote an article about it if you want to check it out on Medium. So feel free to look at them. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn and if you have further questions. But yeah, thanks for listening.